It's a new month and I'm here with 5 new book recommendations. 5 books that I read and that I think you might like. So let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Flor. I'm a first-time mom in my 30s, living in New York City and working as a full-time content creator, and this channel is a mix of that. I talk about the joys and struggles of motherhood, I talk about my job as an influencer and the behind the scenes of that, and I also share weekly vlogs about my life in the city. And I also do some other things in my free time, like reading or watching TV shows, so I usually talk about those on this channel. Right now we're gonna be talking about books, but there is something in the works about TV shows and more coming soon on the channel. So if you like any of this, of course consider hitting the subscribe button down below, hitting the notification bell so you can get notified of every time I upload a new video every single week. A little disclaimer before actually getting started, and it's that my voice is not great. I know that. It looks as if every time I sit down to film, my voice is not doing great. But the truth is that my voice is not doing great in general. I feel like for the past 2 months or so, I've been like battling a cold after a cold. My daughter Julia, she gets sick, then I get sick, then my husband gets sick, and then the cycle starts all over again. Since we're all living together, we kind of like keep infecting each other. So hoping this is the last one, but I really don't know. Luckily it's not COVID, it's not strep. I've been tested for both multiple times, but the voice is weird. It sounds weird, but as I mentioned before, we're just gonna roll with it. This is going to be the voice for this video. This was my voice for one of my last videos, and we're gonna work with that. So with that little disclaimer out of the way, we're gonna get started with today's video. This is actually going to be video number 15 on my channel with book recommendations, which means there are 14 previous videos, each of them with 5 book recommendations. So 5 books 14 times, that is 70 books if I'm not mistaken, and with this 5 new book recommendations there will be a total of 75 book recommendations on this channel, which is a lot. I feel like whatever type of book you might be looking for, you might find a recommendation of something that you might like on my channel. And I don't know, it's kind of like a tradition on my channel at this point. I'm going to talk a bit more about that at the end of this video, but yeah, basically want to tell you that if you just happen to find this video, please know that there are 14 other videos that you can check out on my channel with more book recommendations. They will all be linked down below in the description box. This video is a special one because I am going to be talking all about non-fiction books, which is not something that I do very often. I think I've just talked about 1 or 2 non-fiction books in the recommendations up until this point. So special video. If it found its way to you, know it's a special one. And the first non-fiction book that I wanted to recommend is called Vanderbilt, The Rise and Fall of an American Dynasty by Anderson Cooper and Katherine Howe. So I don't really know how I found this book. I don't know if someone recommended it, or I really don't know. But I know about the Vanderbilt family. I've known about them for a while. I know that they were like a big, huge, powerful, rich family in New York many years ago. But what I didn't know was that Anderson Cooper, the journalist, he is actually part of that dynasty, even though he doesn't have the last name Vanderbilt. His mother, Gloria Vanderbilt, did have that last name. He just happens to have his father's last name. And when I found about that, I was kind of shocked. I thought that the dynasty kind of didn't exist anymore. I didn't think there were like any relatives left, any members of that family left. But what I like about this book is that he is writing about the Vanderbilts being part of the family, because there's been like a lot of things written about them, but it's always from the point of view of outsiders, and he's actually one of the members of the family, and he starts telling the story from his, I think it's like a great grandparent, Cornelius Vanderbilt, which was the one that started this whole dynasty. How he started working on a boat. He was like transporting things, I think it was between like Manhattan and Staten Island many years ago. How that business kind of grew, and how his descendants, especially his son, sons and then the sons of his sons, how they grew the business, how they diversify the business. At one point, they owned most of the railroads in the US, so they were super, uber, mega rich. And it all kind of like went downhill at one point, like family rifts, and then not really like planning for the future, not maybe having like the best financial advisors. So Anderson Cooper, what he tells in the story and what most of us probably know is that he is a well-known journalist, but he got there kind of like by his own right, because by the time he grows up, there's not much of that like Vanderbilt fortune left, and he kind of went out on his own. His mother, Gloria Vanderbilt, in a way was like one of the last of the dynasty that kind of got to live this like elite way of life and way of living, like getting invited to movie premieres and being part of like the socialite elite group of people here in New York. Honestly, I loved this book. I actually ended up getting a copy, like a physical copy, through the publishers after reading it, because there are some photos in it and I wanted to have like a physical copy. And I feel like if you have ever been to New York, or if you're planning a trip to New York, or if you live here like myself, it's like a great walk down memory lane, being able to, in a way, hear Anderson Cooper tell the story of some of the most like popular buildings here in New York, how some of the places that nowadays are hotels, or maybe they don't exist anymore, sadly, there were like this absolutely fantastic mansions where people lived, where people had parties, where people kind of decided the future of society many years ago. I really like this book. I actually recommended it on my Instagram stories a while back. I tagged Anderson Cooper in my stories. He reposted the story. Thank you. I know some people bought the book because of that story, and that made me really happy, because usually when I recommend books, I feel like people read them, but maybe they don't actually buy them through the links that I post. And seeing people buy that basically because he shared that on his story, I was like, nice, thank you. Not because of like the commission that I might have gotten through that sales, which might be like, I don't know, $5, but I feel like it was like a great gesture from him. I know that sometimes I tag people that have podcasts, or writers, or business founders, some other people in like my industry or other industries, and some of them like see the tags and completely ignore them, or maybe they don't even like take a look at those. And the fact that he, or maybe someone working for him, took the time to actually look at my story and actually repost it and like send me a quick message like saying thank you for reading the book or something like that, I was like, he's a good man. He deserves like all the success in the world, and he's a good writer. He told a great and lovely story about his family, about the good things, the bad things, and this might have been like the last great American dynasty, as Taylor Swift once said. Anyways, this book is like 5 out of 5 stars for me. Definitely go ahead, read it. The link will be down below as usual. The next book that I wanted to talk about is called My Friend Anna, The True Story of a Fake Heiress by Rachel DeLoache Williams. I found out about this book after watching the TV show Inventing Anna on Netflix. I don't know if you watch it. It was very popular when it came out. It's all about Anna Delvey, who is a person that pretended to be like a very well-known heiress, I think from Germany, and she basically conned like a lot of people here in New York, a lot of rich people, a lot of people that weren't maybe not that rich. She started being nobody, and she got like really high up in like the society stairs, or whatever you might call that. And one of the people that was like really close to her back then when all of this was happening was this person, Rachel. She was a writer, she was working at a magazine, and she loaned Anna some money and never got that money back. There are people that will discuss this, saying that she got the money back from the credit card, so in the end like she didn't lose any money. That's like for another story. So I watched the show and I was like, how haven't I like heard about this person before? I didn't know that this person existed, and I wanted to know more. You know, like sometimes TV shows might change things, they might be different. So I went ahead, I found the book that this person, Rachel, wrote. And I quite enjoyed it. She shares a story about how she met Anna and how at first she was kind of blinded by her like apparent wealth and the things that she had and where she lived and the things that she did and how she traveled, and how with time she started like seeing some cracks in her story, things that didn't add up. Well, how in the end there was this like fateful trip to, I think it was Morocco, where she puts down her credit card and everything goes downhill from there. I think it's a good story. This woman actually, I think, went to jail. I don't know if because of conning people or because she had overstayed her visa. You probably know who she is at this point because kind of everyone found out who she was because of this very popular Netflix show. And yeah, that's it. I like the book. I think I would give it like maybe 3 out of 5 stars. It was not my favorite book, but definitely a good read. And if you watch the show and want a little bit more of the backstory, go ahead and read it. Next up, we are going to be talking about 2 books by the same author and then another book by a different author that probably wouldn't like me talking about these 2 books if that person knew I existed or watched this video, but we're gonna do it anyways. So the third book that I wanted to talk about is called The Palace Papers by Tina Brown. So as soon as this book came out, I heard all about it in the news and I went to read it. I think I mentioned this before on my channel, maybe not, I don't know. But I'm really intrigued about the whole royal family in the UK. So about the Windsor family at this point, but not only the Windsor, but I've read a lot about the Tudors. I've read a lot about other dynasties that were in power in the UK. I don't know why. I'm definitely not a person that likes royalty as an institution and as a way of living. I am most definitely democratic in that sense. I like a republic like we have in Argentina where I'm from, or here in the US, which is different, but still, like, I really like the fact that you can have someone in power that the people elected. Sometimes there are great choices, some other times they're awful choices, but in the end it's you and it's me as citizens that we have the power to elect people, and not have someone that because their parents, grandparents, great-grandparents or whoever ended up in charge because they were sons or daughters or came from a bloodline. I don't like that. Definitely against monarchies in general as a concept, but at the same time intrigued about the monarchy in the UK. With that said, this book, The Palace Papers, it splits the book into 4 different parts. 1/4 of the book, like 25% of the book, it's about Camilla, the now Queen of England, married to Charles. Then another quarter, it's about Kate Middleton, married to William, which one day will probably be king. Then talking about Meghan Markle, married to Harry, William's brother. And then one part of the book talking about the now late Queen of England, Elizabeth II. So the book works focusing on these 4 different women and how important they were or they are to the history of the country, how similar or how different they are, how they started their stories, where they were born or who they were born to, and how their like paths kind of like ended up crossing, intertwining with some of like the most prominent people in the monarchy, or how they ended up being queen in the case of Elizabeth II. She talks about Kate Middleton, about her relationship with Prince William. She talks about how Meghan Markle and Harry met, about their departure from the royal family. I don't know, to be honest, how much of this book is actually true because this person is a journalist, but there are certain facts that she shares that you can definitely like fact check. There are things that happen, like how people met, why they met, or why they decided one thing or another. Overall, I would say that I really like this book. It's insightful if you want to know more about the story of the current dynasty, the story of the current king. It's a book that has lots of information. You should of course like be wary and know that maybe not everything that she shares is true, but I like the book. I think it's well written. It's like thick, like really thick. And if you like me are interested in the British monarchy, I feel like it's a great book, and you could tell who she as an author and as a person kind of prefers. And definitely she loved Elizabeth II, as most people in the UK did. The part about her story and her life, it's really good, and about like how the world would work and survive after her death, which I think hadn't happened by the time the book was published. Good book, or great book if you are obsessed with the royal family as I am. I would give probably 4 or 3.5 out of 5 stars. Now moving on to book number 4, which I mentioned was by the same author, Tina Brown. When I started reading the Palace Papers, I found out that Tina Brown had actually written another book about the royal family called The Diana Chronicles by Tina Brown. And this book is of course all about Diana, but not only about her childhood, her upbringing, her young life, how she met Charles, how she had 2 kids and all that, but also about everything that happened when she tragically died in 1997, and how the monarchy was kind of shaken, and how they had to like change the way they did things because of her death and the impact it had on people, because she was the people's princess. So if you want to know more about Diana's story, I think that this is probably one of the best books in terms of the amount of information that is in there. I knew it was a well-known book and I liked it. I think that my only thing, it's like the end of the book and she talks about monarchy and how important monarchy is in the UK, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. Like, I don't like monarchy, but I feel like it's part of their history and it's probably going to be like that for many, many years to come. But the thing is that she says something like, these other countries have this system where they elect people and then you have to change every 4 years. Like, that's confusing. Who understands that? And I was like, wait. That is not confusing. That makes a lot of sense. I like it. I love democracy. So I was like, yeah, maybe this woman and I, we don't really share basic principles, but it's fine. It's fine. I mean, it's not that I dislike them, but I feel like, yeah, we definitely like come from different backgrounds, of course, and have like different ideas of the monarchy and what the monarchy is, what it represents, and like our love for it. It's definitely on like polar opposites probably. Anyways, I feel like if you are interested in the monarchy, as I mentioned before, I'd recommend reading the Diana Chronicles first, because it's all about Princess Diana and her life and her death, and then read the Palace Papers after that, which talks a bit more about what happened after Diana died. Overall, I would say both books are around like a 3 or 4 out of 5. I like them. I enjoy them. I have this like things here and there, but overall they're good. And now, moving on to the 5th and last book on this video, we are going to be talking about Spare by Prince Harry. So that's why I said that if the person that wrote this last book knew that I would be talking about these other 2 books, probably wouldn't like that. He for sure doesn't know I exist, so I don't think he's gonna get mad. But yeah, what he's doing in his book Spare is basically telling his story, and in a way the story of his family, of his brother, his father, his mother, his grandmother, in his own words, and not through people that told people, which is exactly what Tina Brown does in her book, which is sharing stories that someone shared with someone and then she wasn't really there. So what I liked about Spare is that you don't usually get to know about the life, the early life, the upbringing of the monarchy from within, you know, having him tell what he remembers about boarding school, what he remembers about Christmas with his family, what he remembers about his mom when he was a kid. That is like really special and very different from anything else you might read out there, from like any biography about him or about any of the other members of the royal family. So I feel like the book is like very unique in that sense. That is like one of the main topics, like when he was like a kid and a teenager, the like constant like comparison to his brother, to the heir, and he being the spare. And then he also talks about the different relationships that he had, trying to find the one, like meeting different people, dating different people. He also talks about the relationship with his brother, how they were like really tight and kind of like best friends when they were little, and how this like deteriorated throughout the years and how they're basically not speaking at the moment. And then he also talks about his time in Afghanistan. He was part of the Royal Air Force, if I'm not mistaken, So he talks about his time there, something that I've never read about before, like someone that actually went to war, the truth about what happens there. And then he talks about meeting Meghan Markle, his now wife, about their ultimate like departure from the royal family. His life is really unique. Like not everyone gets to be born into royalty, and what that implies, like good things and the bad things, of course, having things sorted out for you and being able in a way to do whatever you want, but at the same time being like taunted by the media, chased by paparazzis, your whole life and your relationships and your struggles, like everything being like on display for everyone to read about it, for everyone to see. Overall, I really like this book. I felt like at the beginning it was very slow, at least for me. It doesn't mean that the book was slow, but it took me like a while to get through like the first like 20-25% of the book, and then I got like really fast through like the rest of the book. I think I gave it like around 3 or 4 stars out of 5. It's a good book, but what I feel the most is that he is sharing all the stories, some of them like quite embarrassing, or in which he's like not looking that great, because he doesn't want like anyone else having the possibility to like hold all those things over his head. I feel like he doesn't want, or he didn't want anyone to be able to know some of his secrets and maybe blackmail him in a way with them or something like that, or someone else sharing stories or getting paid or getting rich by sharing his secrets. He's like, nope, I'm going to write everything about them. I'm going to share my most like intimate secrets in a book written by me, where I'm going to be the one earning the money, but not only that, sharing my story in my words from my point of view. So it's a very like different book from what I'm used to, but I would definitely recommend it. Again, if you're interested in the royal family. If you're not, then it's probably not the book for you. So yeah, that is it. That brings us to the end of this 5 book recommendations. Non-fiction books. I wanted to do like a special video to share some of the things that I've been reading, that I've been liking, and this is like the end of the recommendations, but I wanted to talk a bit more about books and book recommendations if you wanna stay here. I feel like this video in particular is quite special in a way. It's video number 15. My channel is going to turn 3 years in October, so 36 months and 15 videos about book recommendations in those months. So 1 video every 2 to 3 months, and it's really like weird and special how this works. I've had the habit of reading since I was a little girl. That's something that my mother helped me with. That she is a person that really likes reading, and she encouraged both me and my sister to read from a young age, and I loved that. And I read quite a lot as a kid and then as a teenager. When I started university and I had to read a lot of books for school, I kind of like stopped reading fiction and reading books that I enjoyed, and I just read what I had to in order to study for exams. And I felt like when I graduated, I had a hard time like going back to those books, going back to reading just for pleasure. And I was reading like 1, 2, maybe 4 books every year, which now that I think about it is like almost nothing. And then one of the good things about the pandemic and everything that happened in 2020 is that I actually went back to reading. I had a lot more free time because unfortunately I didn't have as much work as I had before. We were living in a different country. It was like a whole different story. But I had just signed up for a card at my local library, at the New Republic Library. I'm going to talk about that more in another video. But yeah, I had signed up for a card. I found out that I could get free Kindle books. I started reading them on my iPad, then I got a Kindle, and in 2020 I ended up reading 24 books, like 2 per month, which was a personal record. I went ahead and then read 24 books in 2021 as well. I ended up reading 22 books, so just too short of the 24th goal. Last year, mainly, I don't know, being pregnant most of 2022, I was tired and not feeling great during my first trimester, and then I was a mom, so I think 22 books was overall good. And then this year, 2023, I think I'm gonna get to 12 books, which is not, of course, 24, but it's something. And I feel like actually recording 15 of these videos and talking about so many books is like quite a milestone, and something that makes me really happy to think about that, to to kind of have like 15 videos out there, 75 book recommendations out there. It makes me really happy to know that I kept on reading, I kept on filming these videos, and I really hope that you liked all of these recommendations. Maybe not all of them, of course. We all have like different tastes in books and in life, but I really hope that some of these like 75 books that I've recommended like kind of resonated with you in one way or another. I don't know when the next book recommendations video is coming because I am not reading as much as I used to, so I don't have that many books to actually recommend and put together a video, but I teased some of this in the intro of this video and some of it on Instagram a while back. I want to dive into different kind of videos but related to this, and I want to talk about book to screen adaptations. So talk about books that I've read and what I think about the TV shows that they did or the movies that they did from those books. So I know I shared this on Instagram and some of you really like the idea, and I know that in the past I talked a bit like here and there about those TV shows that came out and whether or not I like the book better or the screen adaptation better. But I'm really looking forward to like doing these videos, talking more about the books, more about the TV shows, and yeah, maybe changing it up a little bit. I feel like it's great to be able to stick with a topic like book recommendations for like almost 3 years, but it's also good to change things up every once in a while and do something different. So you might be seeing a video about book to screen coming soon to this channel. So if you have just discovered my channel and you like this idea and you want to watch that video, of course, go ahead, hit the subscribe button down below, hit the notification bell. And if you have been here since my first video, first of all, thank you so much. I would love to know if you have read any of the books that I recommended, and if you've read them because I recommended them, let me know down below in the comments. And I hope you are looking forward to this other type of videos that are coming to my channel. Now, with all that being said, that brings us to the end of this video. As I always say, if you like everything about books and book recommendations, I suggest you follow me on Instagram over here, Pereira. I share on Instagram stories about the books that I'm reading at the moment. You can find a highlight about books on my profile. And I also suggest you follow me on Goodreads. This is my username, Pereira, as well. I share over there the books that I'm reading, like currently reading, and I share how many stars I give them before actually like doing a full review here on my channel. And that is everything. I hope you like this video. I hope you like this book recommendations. As I always say, definitely let me know what you're reading down below in the comments. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I recommended, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.